The whole meeting to order. It is Monday, August 22nd, 2022. Councilors, you were sent the minutes from the last meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes from the last meeting have been approved. Next, there is consideration of the consent agenda. Councilors, do you have any items you'd like to place on consent?
Yes.
Councilor Abbott.
A little slow here.
Okay.
Okay. I made a little list. I would like to place items 5, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 on consent.
Okay. Madam President, do you have any items you'd like to place on
I don't have
consent?
any items to add, thank
Okay,
you.
just to go through that, so it's item number 5 and 7 on page 2, items 9 and 10 on page 3, item 12 on page 4, item 13 on page 5, item 17 on page 6, items 18, 19, and 20 on page 7, items 21, 22, and 23 on page 8, and item 24 on page 9. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then we do have one addendum item as well. It's in your folder. This should be marked as item number 25. And I don't mind leaving it off. Actually, I would like to leave it off. That's okay. And that would be item 25. I don't think we had a motion in a
I
second.
move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that abstain. Okay, well, that was 2 ayes and 1 abstention. So if your item was placed on the consent agenda, which was just approved, you may go and enjoy the rest of your day. The first item is item number 4, an ordinance pursuant to section 11-102-1 Code of Alabama authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement for a term not to exceed 3 years between the city of Birmingham and Jefferson County, Alabama, the county, for the purpose of making certain improvements involving full depth reclamation, resurface, and striping of Asipco Industrial Drive from Daniel Payne Drive to Egan Road to improve road conditions and the safety of traveling public in Birmingham, Jefferson County, hereinafter called the roadway located within the corporate limits of the city of Birmingham as part of needed infrastructure improvements. The county will provide through the competitive bid process the required material and labor services for the improvements to the roadway. The city of Birmingham will be responsible for paying Jefferson County for the cost of improvements. The cost of improvements to be paid by the city shall not exceed $250,000. After completion and acceptance, the city shall assume responsibility for future maintenance of the roadway.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, Chief Mitchell.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Chris Hatcher. I am the Recovery Team Lead and Chief Community Planner for the City of Birmingham. This project is funded out of the American Recovery Plan Act, our state and local fiscal recovery funds, and it is in the category of bucket of community and economic development. I've got Colin Alexander here who can speak to the interlocal agreement with Jefferson County for the improvement of the public right-of-way, and also Aurelio Johnson from the Office of Economic Opportunity to talk about the economic development aspects of the project, if there are any questions to those ends.
All right, Madam President, do you have any questions?
Yes, I did just want to ask, This particular funding is ARPA funded.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this from the first tranche of funds, or how is this money being allocated?
It's from the first.
Okay.
First tranche.
Okay.
Thank you. I believe that's it. I'll come back later if there's other questions.
Okay.
I just want to know the source.
Yes. Counselor Abbott?
Yeah, and I just may be remembering wrong, but I thought we couldn't use the funds for street paving because I think, seems like I remember the council was very enthusiastic about using the funds for street paving and we were told we couldn't.
Well, these funds were for, like I said, under the first tranche, and they're listed under loss recovery dollars that we were able to set aside outside of the broader ARPA funds where we had to meet specific treasury measures like negative economic impact or public health. A part of those treasury funds allowed the cities to set aside a certain percentage of those dollars received to do things like loss recovery that goes to paying premium pay, paying first responders, and also some of the other type of funding like infrastructure improvements that the city was not able to meet just because of the impacts to the city's reserves or the city's budget due to the lost revenue to the pandemic. So this is in that category of funds. So, as we said, they're for economic development and community improvements, and we specifically set aside funding for site remediation to, if it's economic development, to do projects like this one that will bring jobs and more dollars into communities, or if it's on the community development side, to do housing or things, other public service type things that will help community and community revitalization.
Okay, so we can do street improvements with the money as long as we name it something else.
Under loss recovery. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Abbott, do you have any more questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, that was really my main question too. So I'm good to go. I think there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item number 6, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with LexisNexis Risk Solutions FL Incorporated, under which LexisNexis will provide software to the City of Birmingham for conducting background investigations through the Birmingham Police Department in an amount not to exceed $20,590.34 for a period of 36 months beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2025, subject to an appropriation of sufficient funds of Birmingham.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay. Chief Mitchell.
Any questions?
Counselor Abbott, you have any questions?
Yes, there was a reason that I kept this off. Oh, the background investigations, these are for people that we suspect of being criminals.
I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that question because I do the contract side, but I don't know what type of people they're running background investigations on.
Okay, and it was being
Sergeant
funded by 2 council members, and that was a little bit confusing.
That was
a typo.
That was
just
typo.
that
Yeah,
was-
that was an error.
Okay, well, that was another reason that I was curious, is
Okay.
I thought, why are they
Chief
doing
Mack, do
this?
you know what type of background investigations they do?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon. So this particular software is going to go hand in hand with our DataWorks system. So our identification unit who conducts fingerprints, this software works with the actual equipment that we just recently purchased to make sure that when they run criminal background checks, they can do like a national search of any criminal records.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, Madam President.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Next item number 8 on page 3, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute for and as the act of said city an agreement with Assistant Parole LLC, Beaver Creek Ohio, in an amount not to exceed $14,999.99 over a term of 3 years to provide the lease of assisted patrol bait systems and all necessary related components, accessories, hardware, and software for the police.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay. I think we had some questions. Council Abbott?
This is the bait. Is this, are we on 8?
You're on 8,
Okay,
the
so
bait.
what is an assisted patrol bait system?
Good question.
That is a good.
What kind of bait are we buying? Are these worms or minnows or?
I will try. I honestly don't know what kind of bait systems they're using.
I would really
In my
want-
head, it seems like they were using evidence that we've collected, like, let me think here, for, say, they like in a theft where they could
Well,
go,
we can just wait till they come.
Yeah, let-
Yeah.
are they on their way?
I think I saw,
Keep leading.
it's the, assist,
bait
What type
system.
of
the bait
baits?
system.
So basically, our investigators in our auto theft unit, they would use this to conduct various operations. Without getting into specific detail, this particular system, I don't want to give a bad example, but this is going to assist our auto theft detectives with property crimes.
Okay, but we're leasing it. We're leasing this, we're leasing assisted patrol bait systems?
The equipment,
Okay, well, I can tell that I shouldn't ask too many questions because I might get answers. And then if I get answers, everybody will have the answers. Not that I think that many criminals listen to us, but we hope they wouldn't.
Yes, they do.
But I think I might know from watching television where they have, okay,
it's going to help our investigations.
okay.
Well, I think,
I'm good.
I think those numbers have gone down, haven't they?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
auto thefts? Well, let's
I can
keep
pull
on
up the
doing it
stats on my
then.
phone.
Oh, I believe you. Because I think it was this time last year, we had some really bad auto thefts going on, so.
But you have to remember they got Counselor Clark's truck, so they're still out there.
Well, and I know we have a motion, but I guess I just want to remind people, and don't leave your car unlocked at night.
That's true.
That's bait for somebody to come and go through it and ransack it and rob it. So
That's true.
just a warning.
Madam President, do you have any questions?
No, that was just my editorial
And
comment.
especially don't leave your gun under the seat,
Yes.
loaded. That's a bad idea.
Oh, true.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
So actually, I'm
No, no.
sorry, our auto thefts are not down. I just looked at the stats.
Oh,
So
they're
we need this
not?
equipment.
We need this.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yes, that's fine.
Is it true, I was told the other day that the thieves have these electronic things that they can use like your key fob, except that they've got the same thing you've got and they can get in your car and just drive off with it. Is that true?
To a degree, yes, ma'am. They are able to clone your device, but the make and model of the car plays into it. I'm not an auto theft detective, so I don't want to give you any bad information, but yes.
Well, I used to say nobody wanted hybrids, but see now the tables have turned, so, okay, well, somebody told me that and I just wondered if it was true, that they could just go around letting themselves into people's cars.
That's very
Okay,
interesting.
I'm ready to vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The item passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item number 11, a resolution authorizing the mayor to issue on behalf of the city a firm commitment to allocate $250,000 in local grant match in support of a $10 million railroad crossing elimination RCE planning and engineering grant application to the Federal Railroad Administration Railroad to develop highway, rail, and pathway rail grade crossing improvement projects that focus on improving the safety and mobility of people, goods, and services. Norfolk Southern and the City of Trussville have committed to pay the remaining balance of the 20% local match requirement for the RCE grant.
Move the item.
Second.
All right, good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
All right, Chris Hatcher, City of Birmingham. I'm going to ask Colin Alexander in our Department of Transportation to come up and just give you a brief overview of this grant opportunity, then we'll both try to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. And welcome back.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
afternoon.
My name is Colin Alexander. I serve as planner with the Birmingham Department of Transportation. So the Rail Crossing Elimination Program, this is a new federal program as part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It is fully funded through 2026. As this, we are going after a rather substantial, really pre-construction grant. This is in partnership with Norfolk Southern and the City of Trussville. We're looking at the corridor from Woodlawn to Mary Taylor Road, which is actually a Birmingham road but connects two parts of Trussville. This stretch of track also goes through Norfolk Southern's Norris Yard, which is one of their key hubs throughout the country. This is one of Norfolk Southern's national priorities. Part of this is about connectivity around Harris Homes, the housing authority community that is completely isolated on both sides by railroads and has had sometimes been trapped for 3 days. The concept is that we would close all of the railroad crossings starting at 56th Street South and going all the way to Brussels Avenue. We would replace the Brussels Avenue crossings with a tunnel that would run underneath the two tracks to give unimpeded access to Harris Homes. There'd be a series of other closures and then also a bridge construction at Mary Taylor Road to alleviate that side, along with some track and siding improvements around Norris Yards. This would provide consistent access to Harris Homes, consistent access to another neighborhood in Trussville that has some of the same problems. It would get us a quiet zone in Woodlawn, which would unlock affordable housing tax credits that currently we do not qualify for because of the noise environmental concerns. And like I said, this is a big partnership. Norfolk Southern has committed $1.5 million towards the matching 20% grant. Trussville's committed $250,000, so this is to commit the city to the other $250,000.
Okay. Now, what is between 56th Street and what?
56th Street and Brussels. So this includes 56th Street, 59th Street, 57th Street. Antwerp is another one that we'd be closing. The part of the problem in Woodlawn in particular, why we have all those crossings, that you have 3 crossings within 1,500 feet of each other. And federal railroad regulations require that every train blows their horn 3 times at each crossing. So that's for every train, 9 horns within 1,500 feet. Double that by 30 trains a day, you get the picture.
That's a lot. Okay. Madam President, do you have any questions?
Yes.
I know you do.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Alexander, and I'm excited to see this grant, this come to realization. I guess I just want to be sure this is the first of grants of this nature, because we have trains that are blocking multiple areas of the city, primarily a lot of those in the west. So I'm not trying to take from one and give to the other, but I guess I just want to be sure that residents understand this process and what it means for Harris Homes and what's the opportunity there for the city to go further with this in the other areas.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Obviously, this is a major problem. As a industrial city, we have a lot of rail crossing issues like this. I think there's 3 parts to that answer. The first one is that this was an opportunity that is pretty well fleshed out. We have a project. A lot of that is because this is a national priority for Norfolk Southern, so we can really start to go after something tangible. We know it's a big problem, and we take it very seriously, but we don't have projects identified in Titusville or in the Southwest the way we do right now at Harris Homes. So that's the first part. In a limited way, part of this is about also adding capacity around as much as possible around Norris Yards. If we close these crossings, Norfolk Southern can bring their trains in closer, and hopefully that'll have a ripple down effect along the at least the Norfolk Southern line through the Southwest, not so much the CSX line that runs to the south of Titusville. So that's going to have a ripple effect. Now, in terms of the long-term plan here, it is multiple phases. So this is the first one we're going out because we have a real tangible project and we need to start the planning. The next step here is we are beginning conversations with the Regional Planning Commission so that in 2023, they'll be going after, in partnership with us, a regional planning grant. So it's more of a study, less intense than this, that will identify key projects along corridors that we are beginning to identify that we want to study. Hopefully out of that, we'd have projects that we can come back to. So then by the time that grant's done, we're ready to go after construction grants for this project. And then hopefully this will be renewed in the next infrastructure bill as a program, and we can take those projects we identified in the regional planning process and go to implement them.
Follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I just want to be sure that I have clarity, because I was going to ask next about the funding source. So this comes out of the Biden infrastructure bill money, or is this money we set aside from community development or transportation?
Sure. So this is just the $250,000 from the city. This is just a commitment for us going further. We're going to identify the funding sources we get closer to when we have to commit to putting money into the project. In terms of the rail crossing elimination program, which we're going to apply for a grant for, that is a program operated by the Federal Rail Administration that was allocated through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So this is a pot of money that didn't exist before the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It's fully funded up through fiscal year 26.
And my last question, just also to be sure I'm clear, are there other grants that we could apply for? Is this just the beginning of, this grant, but then are there other grants we may be able, could this lead to other grants?
There are other rail grants. This one is very specific for rail crossing elimination. So the idea that you're taking crossings and you're either closing them or you're replacing them with a tunnel or a bridge. So that's what's new about this grant. There are other federal grants that we can go after. Once we identify harder what the projects are going to look like. We just don't have hard projects identified yet on the Southwest Corridor in particular. So there would be other fundings, like let's say that the RCE was not renewed after 26. There are other funding sources we could go after that could identify some of those projects. But this one it's a new opportunity.
Okay. And just lastly, I do want to thank the counselors that attended the National League of Cities. I know we were given information about these type grants and other type grants, so I do want to thank Governmental Affairs and then the team here for following through on those requests, because we were really wanted to see some movement happen for grants and things like this, so thank you all. That's it for me, Council.
Okay. Councilor Abbott?
Yeah, so just to make sure I understand, do we have this grant, or this is a grant application?
This is a grant application.
So the $250,000 is going towards creating the grant application?
The $250,000 is the grant match. So when we apply, we have to show the federal government that we have funding dedicated to meet at the 80-20%. So if we are awarded it, then we have to identify the account and actually put in the money towards the 20% local match. But this is to allow us to apply for the opportunity.
Okay, so the 80-20 is 80% of 10 million?
80% of 10 million. Of that, Norfolk Southern is committing $1.5 million. The city of Trussville is committing $250,000. So this $250,000 would round out the $2 million match. So it's actually an $8 million. It's 20% on $8 million, total of $10 million.
Okay, so no, there won't be any requests coming back asking for more.
There shouldn't be. We went on the high end with this, so it would not be. I do not see a planning grant going more than $10 million. It probably will come down. I don't want to promise anything, but you shouldn't be seeing us coming back for this round. Now, once we get to construction, we'll have to reapply for another grant, and we'll have that discussion if we get to that point. But this is just to secure the planning grant.
Okay, and the closures of the crossings, where's all the traffic going to go?
So on some of it, we're redirecting, Brussels Avenue and, of course, 55th Street, which has an underpass at Woodlawn. So we're trying to funnel traffic into those two. Again, we have a bit of a redundancy of crossings. One of the things we are also looking at this is between 56th to 59th Street, looking to, as part of this, also build a bike and pedestrian tunnel so that there is pedestrian access, because it is a long stretch between 55th and Brussels. So that would also be part of this in order to alleviate some of those connections. But we feel that in this area, we have a plethora of crossings, and we feel that we can funnel people through those two access points.
Okay, but once we funnel them, the people on Brussels and 56 are going to be crying because all of the traffic is going to be driving down their streets now, you know, knocking the side mirrors off their cars and speeding through the neighborhood. So, you know, when we create a funnel, the problem is the funnel causes problems. So is any of this planning going to go to deal with the places that we're going to create problems where we're fixing other people's problems?
That's something I'm going to have to get back and report on. I don't think that it could be part of that part of the planning grant because it's very specific that it's rail crossing eliminations. So I'll have to get a report back to you on that and see what we can do to study that. But in the same way that we can't, you know, just build a bridge over a new location without actually eliminating a crossing in this grant. I think it may or may not be eligible, but I'd have to double check with the Federal Railroad Administration.
No, but we can't allow our projects to ruin other people's lives by, totally destroying their part of the neighborhood while we're fixing other parts. So we need to have a plan, even if it's outside of this grant.
Absolutely.
Traffic, the Department of Transportation is what we're calling it now. They would need to look at this and determine what needs to be done to these other streets, because this used to be in my district and it's not anymore, but I still care about those people and I know what happens when, you know, the city makes plans. You know, they always affect somebody.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely going to be part of the discussion about making sure that what we're doing is effective, but right now the idea is that you would take those 3 crossings and have the traffic move into a single crossing with it, which has a light too, instead of just a stop sign. So.
Okay, we're counting on you. I'm holding you responsible.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hear those people in Brussels and 56 come back and say, you ruined my life.
So do we have an idea of what account we would use when we get further along this application
We have
process?
a grant match account that we can pull from if we are awarded the grant.
Okay. I am happy to hear this. I know Councilor O'Quinn's been working very hard with this with the railroad companies. I know like almost a year ago we met with them to talk about this, and Harris Homes was one of those neighborhoods. It's been almost 30 years they've been trapped, so I'm really excited to hear this. But I will have to echo the sentiments of Madam President that the west side does need help because we are having deaths because of the trains.
Absolutely.
From people trying to go under. We're still having people blocked. I know it's a process, but if I would like to request more information on this because it was kind of hard for us to open it up when we got our supporting document, so we can have this when people ask us about it. And I don't know, just a request for like maybe a plan coming up. I don't need it, we wouldn't need it right now, but I want to be able to tell residents that we're working on something.
Absolutely.
You know, because I know when we get the phone calls, we just kind of say we're talking to the trains and nothing's happening, they kind of don't believe us.
No, I totally understand. It is a complicated system that goes beyond this city. Going back to the southwest side, and especially about the safety concerns, and I know we've had 2 fatal wrecks involving Amtrak in the last 2 months. I will say both of those crossings, both at 17th Street Southwest and at 15th Place or 15th Street Southwest, are part of our Section 130 Quick Curb project that we've been doing with Norfolk Southern, which we just executed back in July. So there should be some safety improvements at those particular crossings coming soon. So we're not only focusing on one area, we're taking what we can. This is just a real opportunity to really prolong move forward a significant project.
Okay, well that's nice to know because sometimes you all do this great work and we don't know about it until it's time to vote on it. So
Thank you.
Okay, well, do either one of the committee members have any more questions?
I do have one question, and you might know the answer. Do the railroads have any kind of notification system that they can send to people's cell phones that says we've blocked this intersection and that people could sign up for, that tells them what they blocked so that they don't go down there and try to cross it anyway?
I would have to double check that from the railroad perspective. I know that there is some technology out there that's being implemented by things like Waze and other navigation tools that will notify you when you're using it that there's a blocked crossing, but I'm not sure that there is an FRA program for that.
That's a smart idea.
Well, it just seems like with all the things we get warnings on, the weather and everything else, there's been something bad's happened somewhere. You get a notification on your phone. If you could get a notification when your favorite, intersection is blocked by a standing train that's never going to move again, it would be good because you could plan your trip to go somewhere else and then you won't be so angry that you'll try to cross the track when a train's coming.
That's a good idea. Maybe we can talk to Councilor Quinn about working with the train companies on that.
Yeah, he's
I
a
like that.
techie.
He really is. Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Next item is item number 14 on page 5, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver a First Amendment to the agreement with Friends of Rickwood Field adopted by the council on December 22nd, 2020 under resolution number 2445-20 to increase the management fee to Rickwood from $50,000 in year 3 to $150,000 in year 3 to expand the scope of services to include programming for park and recreation and other services.
Move the item.
Second.
Yes, just amending the current contract to reflect the increase in the budget that was approved back in June.
Okay. Councilor Abbott, do you have a
Yeah,
question?
so exactly what is this money going to be used for? I mean,
This is for
Park
the
and
opera-
Recreation,
This is for the complete operations of Rickwood Field under the Friends of Rickwood guidance.
okay, so they'll be able to hire an employee to handle everything instead of the volunteers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think the mayor had mentioned during those budget hearings that they were trying to do more studies to have more events out there with Rickwood Field. Is that right? Yeah. Like similar, I forgot the name of the festival last year that they had at Rickwood Field. Do you remember the name of that? What was the name of it?
Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Banana. Yeah. Yep. So.
Exceedingly successful.
Yes. Yes. Madam President, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, thank
Okay.
you.
Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That item passes. Next item is item 15. Be it resolved by the council of the city of Birmingham that the mayor be and hereby is authorized to execute for and as the act of said city a management agreement between the city of Birmingham with the Jazz Hall of Fame of Alabama, under which the Jazz Hall of Fame shall manage, operate, supervise, and maintain the property known as the Carver Theater for the benefit of the city for a term of 3 years ending June 30th, 2025, an amount not to exceed $175,000, subject to an annual funding by the city in each fiscal year's budget, corresponding fiscal year's budget.
Move the item.
Second.
Yeah, this is the annual agreement. Last year we had a 1-year agreement, so now presented before the council is a 3-year commitment to the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame and Carver Theater in the amount that's noted. This is just the operating agreement.
Yeah, Councilor Abbott.
Okay, so $175,000 for 3 years does not seem like much money.
No. It's $175 every year for 3 years.
Okay, well, it doesn't say that.
I think it's just the wording, but it's $175 per year.
Well, that's a relief because $58,000 a year wasn't going to buy them much.
No.
However, the wording does need to be fixed because it doesn't say $175 a year.
Well, we can just add it that says not to exceed $175,000 per year.
Per year,
Yeah, we'll just add per year.
subject to annual appropriation in the city's budget.
Yes.
Yeah, because $58,000 wouldn't have paid for one employee.
Yeah. Isn't there a sidewalk film event there? Yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah, that's good. Madam President, do you have any questions?
Well, now, I hate to bring this up. There was a presentation about some additional ADA issues that needed to be done, is that part of this? Or, you know, they would try, is that the Carver where they were putting in the elevator or somewhere where somebody could get to the back of the theater or something?
The basement,
Yes.
for
That doesn't
handicap.
include this.
handicap.
No, this is just an operating budget.
Okay.
I believe we alleviated the ADA issue.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if Ms. Tucker want to speak to it, but I think we alleviated that.
Okay, I just want to be sure it wasn't hanging out there and it's something we closed the gap on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Guess
Counselor
that
Abbott, do you have any more questions?
So I'm good.
Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Item 16, a resolution pursuant to Section 11-40-1 and Section 41-16-51A16 Code of Alabama 1975, authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver an agreement with Totter LLC in an amount not to exceed $6,030,000 for the provision of 100,000 Totter 96-gallon EVR to Universal Nestable carts and accessory parts and up to $526,002.25 for the provision of assembly, distribution, and related services for a total amount not to exceed $6,556,002.25 to provide goods and services which are being purchased in accordance with the terms of the Sourcewell contract number 041521 TOT, the Sourcewell term. Said funds shall come from GL account 102-00.525-010.
Move the item.
Second.
Chief,
I think he
Mayor.
I think he wants to
Are you gonna do this?
what's this?
So, so I give a little background before the mayor speaks. It's just so, if you recall, when we finished our 2021 audit, we had a surplus, and part of that surplus, we included funding to purchase uniform trash bins. So before you is actually the allocation and the company that will be providing these uniform trash bins.
Oh.
And just a
Well,
little
yes,
more, just a
yes.
little more color to. Oh, you ready? I can stop talking if you want. For real.
No,
If you want to
A
talk.
little more color to what Chief Mitchell said. First, let me say good afternoon,
Good night.
Good afternoon.
Madam Chairwoman, Madam President, and Veteran Dean, Madam Abbott. Good to see all three of y'all. I'm excited about this. I hope you are excited about this. If you have some detailed question outside of what Mr. Mitchell or I can provide, there's a whole team back here that includes representation from the legal department, Ms. Julie Bernard, as well as Director of Public Works, Josh Yates, and the Director of Transportation, Cedric Roberts. As you know, we have been very kind as a city as it relates to versus what other cities do, how we engage in trash. I believe part of that kindness has led to some bad habits out here in our community where there's just too much trash in our city open. Part of that is, again, that we pick up 6 days a week and then we just pick up whatever's placed out there. We believe this is well past due related to uniform trash bins. Again, we're excited about this and we believe this is going to be a game changer. Ms. Bernard can possibly talk to you about, I know you know this, as chairwoman also of PIC, other ordinance should complement this to make sure folks aren't in violation of some other things.
Yeah.
So it all works together. So that's my brief stint. I'm stepping aside. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you too.
Thank you.
Okay,
Counselor
so he's gone, and who's going to answer the questions?
What's the question?
Mr. Chaz? Mr. Chaz, so what is, this is 100,000, these bins are for garbage only?
Just garbage at the moment, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is this like 100,000, will that give every single-family household that has an occupant a new bin?
Yes, so, well,
How soon?
Mr. Yates is here to answer that question.
Oh, okay. Okay. I want to know what color they're going to be, so when people steal them, we can identify.
So
Well, you know,
they
they
need
got
to
the
be-
little tracker on them.
Yeah,
so
they need to
can't
be
steal.
ugly
Councilman,
and,
to answer your question about the color, it'll be the same color that we're using in the current pilot program. So it'll be the blue uniform Benz.
You know, we don't have any over
I
there
know,
by me.
I
so
know.
could
Yeah,
you
we don't- I
describe
don't-
it?
That's why we're
haven't-
trying to get.
But actually, only one neighborhood in District 6 has them,
That's why we
and my
got this item
parents
before you,
have
so
them.
everybody can have a Benz.
okay, so what color did you say
Blue.
they? Well, blue is for recycling, isn't
Well,
it?
no, I'm sorry. What is it?
I thought it was black.
No, it's not.
No,
Orange.
green.
Bill had a black one.
Garbage.
They're green.
We were wrong.
The recycling cans were blue.
Green.
Okay.
Blue and
Bright green?
Makes purple.
It's a dark green. It's a dark green, and it has the city emblem burnt into them in white.
Burnt into them.
Yes, ma'am.
That's good, so they'll have hard time stealing them and camouflaging them. Okay, so, but this is one for every single-family household, or I guess apartments under a certain number that we're going to change soon, I hope?
Yes, we
ma'am.
are.
It's 100,000 cans.
And what's the timeline?
So Mr. Yates can speak to that because I think he had a presentation to the, I think it was the PIC committee.
Yeah.
They could speak kind of to the rollout in phases, what we're trying to.
In terms of the phases of the rollout, first of all, good afternoon to everybody. In terms of the rollout, we're looking at rolling out the first 25,000. Hopefully, that's going to take place with 9 weeks from signed contracts when they'll come out. As long as our trucks are in as well, our automated side loaders are in as well, we'll roll out 25,000, which is in roughly 9 to 10 weeks once the signing of the contract's in place. They are doing the distribution for us. We've identified some areas and routes. We're looking at fronts first, the best routes that we have with front service. Then we're going to be working with transportation really closely to try and work on ways to move the service from the alley to the front in areas that we can. So that will come a little later. We'll do 25,000 up front. When the other 4 automated side loaders come in, which would give us a total of 8, we'll be looking at the additional 25,000 and then following it up with some others the following year, right around that year when we can get some more trucks in there as well. Hopefully that answers your question on the rollout.
Where are the trucks supposed to come? I know they've been delayed because of COVID.
The first set of 4 should be here by the end of September, and we should have another set towards the first of next year.
Okay, that's exciting to hear.
One item, we did order a used automated side loader as well. That should be here this week. And I'd just like to say that's historic for the city of Birmingham. Automated side loaders have been around for a while. This is the shift in our waste pickup. We have outlying service areas that are no longer under contract that we're servicing, and our pilot program will also be serviced with this automated side loader and get the chance for our drivers to experience the truck and get trained on it. This is a great opportunity for us, and we're really excited about it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask 2 very common sense questions. Nobody's losing their job, right?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and residents don't have to pay for this, right?
Yeah, thank you.
The
What
first-
you all approve, and the answer is no. These 90 gallons, 96 gallons, we believe, actually work for any household in our city up to 1 week. If a person wants another, there will be a cost because you have to treat everybody the same.
Yes.
So the city cannot afford to provide a second bin for free to any citizen in the city. With those tax dollars from those same citizens, everyone is being provided one.
But Mr. Mayor, the first one is free, right?
Free, yes ma'am,
Okay.
free.
Okay.
Super free.
I just want people to understand that it's on the record, because I don't know how many times I've gotten questions. They think that people are going to lose their jobs or they have to pay for this. So that's why I asked you again, even though we said it quite a few times.
Yes ma'am.
Councilor Abbott.
Okay, so every time we do something new, we have an enforcement opportunity. And we have people who refuse to take their garbage cans up from in front of their house. And we have neighborhoods, many of which are in my district, where people park on the street and the one-armed bandit can't even get anywhere near anything because there's cars parked all over everything, and the people are driving very fast past them, so they'll crash into the new trucks and break them. So what kind of enforcement do you have planned for the people who just leave the 96-gallon can in front of their house 24/7 for the rest of our lives, when the ordinance says that you put it out after 6 in the evening and pick it up before sometime?
Councilor Julie Bernard, Office of City Attorney. I'll take a stab at it. I mean, partly you're correct. There is a provision out now that should be enforced about the time of taking up and putting it back. There may be some other, we're still looking at some of the provisions. We've got one draft that addressed some issues that were coming up, but we're working on kind of upgrading some of those and working on some other provisions that will relate to the rollout of this program. So we can look at that specific question. Part of it that is just an enforcement question, and it is, as you have people using the one-armed bandit, then you've got maybe some other roles that can be filled in checking and enforcing some of those ordinances, but that will have to be a discussion with the departments as to how we go about it. So.
Well, ever since Chief Sparks asked a question about, when I asked about the people who constructed the holders for their garbage cans on the city right-of-way, and he'd never seen one, I've been taking photographs in my district, and I've got about, 50 or 60 photographed to send to Mr. Sparks. But people will build a holder on the right-of-way to hold the new green can. So I would just like to know that we're going to have someone.
Right. Well, that will be some I mean, we have ordinances. We'll look, since you've asked this question specifically this way, we will look and see if there's anything that needs to be tightened up with what's in the existing ordinances, and we will look at that. And then otherwise, some of it's just operational questions. So,
well, the claw, the claw that picks up all your trash and brush, it can pick up those holders. Normally, they're not fastened very well into the ground, and they can just crush them and put them in their trucks because they're on city right-of-way.
Yes, we've had some discussions about that, and with rolling out a new way of doing the business of garbage collection for the city, I think it'll be an opportunity to change things. As you know, one of the things that we were working with within the existing ordinance was the city's existing ordinance allows a paper or certain types of plastic, allows plastic or certain types of paper bags to be used to set out garbage. And that's one blank that I've had, was waiting for when are we going to roll this out so that we didn't have just multiple changes hitting people over a period of time. So, once we get all of this rolled out, then putting it out that way will not be acceptable. And, the same way they've had existing cans and various things. The sidearm loader is not going to work with having them in some kinds of racks and things like that. So we will have to address all that, and this will be a timing to address it all at one time. So, and I know you asked about the traffic, and that's something that, will have to be discussed operationally between Public Works and the traffic.
Yeah, because the alleys are pretty much impassable by vegetation and power lines and fences, and then we have streets that are clogged with parked cars.
Yeah. I think that's a part of that educational campaign we've been talking about, with people putting out their trash cans before 6 p.m. the night before, because I don't think people know, or they just have forgotten, or supposedly.
Our enforcement's so cracked that we just let everybody know.
Well, they're trying. We're going to give them a chance to redo it. So, Madam President.
Yes, I just had a question. So the ordinance, the accompanying piece to this, you plan to have it before us by the time we get the first distribution, or we're still operating kind of under the pilot project mode?
Yes, and it's Mr. Yates and I are working on some, pieces of that to get it finished up, and hopefully we'll have that done, by the time we get towards the end of September to roll, something out, maybe before, but as close as we can to go along with that.
I think they're doing that because they want everything to kind of correlate with each other, because they didn't want to put out the ordinance and start enforcing it, and they didn't have all the bans out, and it takes some time to put in people's mind over and over that you're supposed to put trash in a trash bin, you're supposed to put your trash out, so just trying to be.
I know the recycling is not a part of this. This is for our garbage that we create. I guess my question is, just as a question about the rolling stock, the same truck will eventually be able to pick up both cans. Will it eventually, when it all gets to going, eventually, if we go that route with the
Yes, ma'am.
recycling?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They could work on either or carts. So it could lift waste, it could lift recycling as well. Ultimately, the best way to do it would have a truck or two dedicated towards recycling, but right now we would do it just like we are now.
Okay.
And we would make sure the trucks are cleaned out, and on recycling days, they pick up recycling and take it to the recycler.
And let me be sure I was paying attention with Attorney Bernard. Surely no one would want to opt out of this, and you'd want to use that particular receptacle. So is that what our ordinance is going to do, or will you have that option?
No, it's definitely not an opt-out. Everybody has to have it. 'Cause
Okay,
I think that's
what I just want to be sure it is
Yeah.
uniform.
I will say state law authorizes municipality to have a mandatory collection program.
Okay.
There are some provisions in there. There are some provisions to get exceptions to it. To do that, you have to get permission from the health department. You have to say, I'm going to take my own waste to the dump, and you have to get approval for a certificate of exception from the health department. And, then of course there would be some enforcement provisions. You could go back if they don't abide by that. So we'll have to look at it. You can say mandatory, yes, but there is an exception under the state law to that.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Abbott, do you have any more questions?
Well, the only other question I have is, what month will we hear the rollout on the recycling bins? Like, just a guess. Recycling bins?
Not a part of it.
It's
Something
not part
like
of
an
it.
expansion of
No, like the toter, the blue toters
Okay.
for recycling. When
So-
are they coming?
whenever we find funding for it. At this point, there's no funding for the recycling bins at the moment. We just wanted to take care of the garbage collection first, and then we can look towards recycling next.
Oh, okay, so we've used up all the money for garbage. I got you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then our last item is our addendum item number 25. A request seeking a budget ordinance to transfer funds totaling $2,500 from Council Smithman's account number 001_000_04260.542-001 to the Birmingham Library GL account number 001_777_55001.527-014 for a structural assessment of the Titusville Library.
Move the item.
Second.
So I can explain this. And I hate Mayor Whitfield's gone, but I do want to thank the mayor's office. So Titusville Library is one of the libraries that has a structural problem. When they first built the library all that long time ago, they actually built it wrong, so the foundation is not crumbling, but it's deteriorating to the point it can be very dangerous for people to occupy. So they have to do another assessment of it. And they did an assessment years ago.
Bingo.
Is that it?
That's
Yes,
it. We just need an updated structural analysis.
Do you guys have any questions? Councilor Abbott?
Have we moved this item yet? I'm trying to remember.
have
Have
we-
we moved the item yet?
Oh,
I
thought we
moved
did.
the item just in case
Oh.
we haven't.
Well,
No, I don't have any questions. I'm aware of the situation.
okay. Madam President? Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Okay, we don't have any more old and new business. The next Budget and Finance Committee meeting will probably be later than this, probably Monday, September 26th at 3:30 p.m. I have to go out of town for a conference with Councilor Tate. So is there a motion for adjournment?
I just have one thing before we go.
Yes.
At one time, Public Improvements was looking at reducing the number of units for the city to pick up the garbage, which would affect these new garbage cans. For instance, if you have a, what is it under 8 units
under
or
8.
under
Apartments.
10?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
It's under
apartments.
8.
Yeah.
8.
And so if we were going to change that, it seems
a
like we
question.
should change it before we hand out new.
They're working on that. It's more than one ordinance that Attorney Bernard and Josh Yates are working on. She's just,
Yes, it's all encompassing of the changes that we're trying to submit to the PIC committee that help towards getting.
yeah, it's like 3 or 4 in one.
Well,
Not 3 or 4 in one, but it's like 3 or 4 as part of that package of them
Right.
revising. them.
Currently, the ordinance allows if you're 10 or less units, the city's been servicing those. You're not required to have a dumpster. So I've talked with Mr. Yates, and that's going to switch to 4 units or less. The issue is there are some apartments out there that are well more than 4 units that there's nowhere to put a dumpster. We're going to have to work through that. There is a provision in the ordinance where somebody who can't meet all the strict conditions of the ordinance can apply to the director to get, some exceptions to like maybe how they set out or things like that, because there are some properties where there's just nowhere to put a dumpster or put anything. So we're going to have to work through some of those pieces.
well, I just wanted to see if
Yeah,
that was going to happen
that's fair.
before the
Yeah.
rollout
Yeah.
was rolled out.
Yeah.
Because you'd hate to give them out and then go take them back.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Okay, that was my only old and new business.
Okay. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting has been adjourned. Thank